All right, what's up, everybody? Sorry, I was getting moving around some stuff and forgot to put a note in there. So we are using a new bot. I'm using the Streamlabs local bot here to handle all the questions. So if you guys want to ask a question, you have to put exclamation point Q in front of the question. So once that does it, it'll actually put it through into a comma separated value file on my computer here, and then I can go ahead and read it. So there's no more, did I miss this question? It puts it right into a file on my computer. So you'll also notice you get points for asking a question. The points are meaningless right now, but you also do get points for just watching the channel too. The bot keeps track of all that stuff. So maybe we'll do something fun with the points at some point, but I am playing with a new Streamlabs Chatbot. It's actually running local on my computer here right now. So the nice thing is that I can actually read chat and don't have to worry about it jumping. So I can see where I'm at. I can actually see all of the chat here since I fired the bot up. And yeah, which is pretty nice. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off with some updates. So if you guys saw, we just posted out a bunch of stuff about the Creality 427 boards. Those are confirmed now to have the RCT 256K chips. I literally have one right here in my hand. You can see here that's got the RCT. These just came in from my Creality reseller. And yeah, they look exactly the same. There's no marking. So if you're buying boards from anybody but us, you're basically playing board roulette on what you're getting for the processor. If you don't care, then it is what it is. But we do have on our website, we have them separated out into different CPUs. So we are literally we're opening the box. We're not opening the static bags, but we're opening the box of every single 427 board that we get in to make sure that has the correct chip. So if I switch over to my screen here, let me go ahead and move that out of the way. You'll see here on our website, we do have stock on them. We have some RCT6s, and those are the cheaper option. And then we have the 512Ks. The 512Ks are probably going to go away at some point because Creality is switching out to the RCT6s due to, I assume, due to supply issues and price increases. So we do have quite a few of the RET6s in. I'm assuming we got a little bit older stock from the supplier, which is good because then you get the better processor. And then we also have the 256K. And if you guys do purchase these boards from us, these are decent budget boards. If you're looking for a silent board and the easy board is out of your price range, and we have them here so you know exactly what you're getting. We have labels on the boxes. I actually personally opened and inspected every single one that we got in today to see what processor they have and then put an applicable label on them. So you will actually get what you select in terms of the processor size. So if you do have one of these boards, now since I literally have one, these came in today, the RCT chip, I am going to load up our firmware on here. I believe it's fully working. I was able to test it on a 512K chip because you can flash the 256 on the 512. They're basically the same CPU, just different memory. And I'm going to test it here, but I also sent the firmware out to a couple of other people. Should be good to go, but I like to verify an actual hardware and not send out firmware updates blind. That's not how I roll. So anyways, let's get into it. And if you guys saw the stream where I was testing this bot, I can confirm that it keeps the question number through every stream. So it looks like it stacks. I'm sure there's a way to reset it, but really doesn't matter. I just have if I reference a question number, that's more for my side because it looks like the first one was my testing here to make sure the bot was working. That was number 61. So the first question is from Nadav, and he says that ain't it A8 the best printer ever? No, I know that's a joke, but no, do not buy an ANET A8 in this day and age. If anybody's watching, do not buy an ANET A8. They are terrible, and apparently people are blowing up my phone. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on silent because I don't want this to be going off. So Derek Cirillo is the next question. It looks like he's actually asking a real question. He said, it seems my printer is getting rusted. What can I use to prevent it from getting rusted? I can see some rust in the gears. So that's a very interesting question, because I have noticed this in some of the printers I've had here in my office and in the print farm that are, 2-3 years old. I see some rust on some screws and other components. I think the best way to do that would be to put some sort of like wipe them down with some like oil or something, or paint them. Painting is the best way to prevent it, because then it's going to cover up that raw metal surface. I haven't had any issues with rust causing problems. I think my CR10, which is, God, that printer was the third printer I bought. I started with an ANET A8, suffered through that, and I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't have the knowledge I do now if I didn't have to suffer through that garbage dumpster fire of a printer. Quite literally, for some people, they love to catch on fire. That's where the ANET fire jokes originated from. And then I bought the Tronxy XY100, rebranded as the Start, which was like a $120 printer. And I was like, okay, I'll have a second printer. And then the CR10 was my third one. That's how I got into the Creality community. So, yeah, paint and just oil or clean it regularly. Let's see. Truggy, EasyBoard for the Ender 6. Will the Easy firmware have already running the blue screen and the THRD firmware? So the Ender 6... Now, the Ender 6 can physically accept the bolt holes line up, most of the cables line up into the Ender 6, but I've talked about this before. The problem is, because they have that weird breakout board to go from the control board up to the upper components for some of the motor connections, the end stop connections. I'm looking at my Ender 6 right now. The heater connections and stuff, they share ground wires, so it's not as simple as take the old board out and put the easy board in, because there might be our signal and ground pins might be flipped on some of the end stops and thermistor inputs. So it's going to require me to take my Ender 6 apart, fit an easy board to it, and then do a video. It's not something that is going to be for the faint of heart or as easy. The other caveat would be, because the SD slot is mounted on the easy board itself, you will have to, if you need access to the slot, you're going to have to use an extension, which I don't recommend. I've had them damage a lot of customer SD slots, where it screws with the pin. I think it's mostly because people don't push the extension back in like they would an SD card. They kind of yank it out. But I don't recommend extenders on SD slots, because there has been damage with them. They're also very big, so if you accidentally bump them, it runs the risk of possibly more potential to damage the slot, just because of the mass of that extension. So the short answer is I don't have time right now to do that. I want to, but it's still not ever going to be like a very smooth experience. Like putting our easy board in the Ender 3, Ender 5, the CR10, it's a pretty straightforward experience. You're not having to repin many cables, if any, and it's just swap it out. Whereas the Ender 6 is a completely different animal. I know there are guys running the Ender 6 with the DIY firmware for the easy board, but they're a little more well versed in making electrical connections and checking those kind of things. I don't think it'll ever be like an official support. I might put like a DIY guide together once I finally get around to changing it out. My whole thing is I don't update my firmware very often on these printers when I set them up and I leave them. The only time I'll change my firmware is if there's a bug in the current firmware I'm running, or if I'm changing something on the printer that requires a firmware update. In that case, you could just leave the bottom panel off the printer. I don't use SD cards on my printer, so me putting an easy board in my Ender 6 is not that big of a deal, having the SD slot not easily accessible, because I'm connecting to it with Octoprint, so I'm sending all my G code over that. Blazeby 3D RC, thoughts on the Creality tent enclosure? I've heard people say it works. It sketches me out putting a fabric thing around it. I would use it for if you occasionally were doing a printing that needed to be enclosed. If you notice, I have many enclosed printers here. I have 3 in my office. There's a Daedalus here, an Ender 5 Plus, and then my ANET AM8. It's not really an ANET anymore. The only thing left on there is a couple of smooth rods. Everything else has been replaced, but those are dedicated enclosure machines. So I think for the price, it's not bad. But if you're going to regularly be printing with printing materials, like whether that's ABS, which is why I enclose my machines, but right now there's actually jobs for SpaceX running on the Ender 5 Plus and the Daedalus in PETG, and I'm doing it in the enclosed printers because the parts are so large, they tend to warp even with PLA. So one of the reasons I actually closed my Ender 5 Plus was because I had a project I was working on that needed that build volume. and I needed to enclose it. I was like, well, it'd be nice to have another ABS printer in here. So I got the Enclosure. So, and for those of you guys wondering, if you have an Ender 5 Plus, the bed will actually hit 100°C. It takes about 8 to 9 minutes, but it does get there and it does hold temperatures. So, but yeah, those like grow tents, you know, they're okay for, what's the word I'm looking for? I would use them for temporary use. I wouldn't have it set up all the time. You know, that's just me. Do whatever you like. I prefer something a little more like stable and not temporary. So, but you know, they're not terrible. I don't know what they go for anymore. Let's see. Kyle asked, besides the Easy board, what is in your next go-to replacement board for Creality printers that won't catch the machine on fire? Actually, if I was going for a non-Creality or a non-Easy board, honestly, the Creality 427, the boards I just showed, the ones that they're changing chips on, they're actually pretty good boards for budget boards if we're doing like a drop-in replacement. Is my bot not aggregating my stuff? Because I see someone put a question in here and it didn't auto-reply. It says we're connected. It might just be catch up. There it goes. Okay, so anyways, yeah, the 427 board, if I'm doing a custom board, I really liked the MKS S-Gen LV2. That's what's in my AM8 build. I have the V1 in my, trying to figure out where to point, in Barney up here, the tiny little purple printer. But the problem is those boards are, you know, you can't find them because they are, the CPUs they used were the LPCs, and those have been damn near impossible to find since the silicon shortage, like well over a year now. So, but the Creality boards aren't bad. I got to venture out and play with some. I have some other MKS boards. I think it's the E3P or E3D. They've been sitting in a box. I really need to do something with them. I did get, for all you Big Tree Tech fanboys, just so I can get some firmware tested, this came in today. I bought this with my own money. Let's see. Oh, look at that big heatsink, because we're too cheap to put enough copper on our circuit board. We have a heatsink here. Let's see. I figured I'd open this live so someone can't be like, oh, they tampered it. Let's see. Yeah, so here's the thing. Creality is guilty of doing this. Big Tree Tech's guilty of doing this. Remo thinks the bag's a treat. You see this? These are trinamic drivers. If your board is properly engineered, you don't need heat sinks on your drivers. See these? These are 2209s. Same chips that are on this board, except we don't need heat sinks. Okay? So because we use copper, high copper count, 4 layers, 2-ounce copper on every single layer, the board is the heat sink. That's the proper way to dissipate heat from trinamic drivers. It's literally in their... Oh, my computer's being weird. It's literally in their data sheet. It's not a preference of mine. This is literally in their data sheet. So what Chinese companies do, you know, and just in general, companies that are being cheap asses, they'll put heat sinks on top of them. And the problem is the drivers sink their heat through the bottom. So if anything, the heat sink should be on the bottom of this board if they're trying to be cheap, because you're basically trying to cool the chip down through the package, the plastic package of that processor. So, first impressions, it looks decent. I see they went back to those crappy windsock MOSFETs. Those ones that like have like a bunch of different manufacturers and they all look different and they have high failure rates. Yeah, they're back on this board. So, I mean, visually it looks pretty nice. I don't have any complaints there. We'll have to see. I am going to do a little bit of testing on it, but I mainly got this to throw this in my test machine and to do some firmware for it. So, but... yeah, this wasn't supposed to be here till I think March, but I back ordered it on their Amazon site and it showed up today. So, you know, like I said, it's a shame that Big Tree Tech cost cuts so much that they take products that are decent ideas and they turn them into unreliable piles of crap that they then don't stand behind. That's why I don't like the Big Tree Tech stuff. And I've told their engineers this. I've said this before. They have good ideas. I like the stuff they're coming up with. The problem is they start cost cutting, they start using really cheap components, and you start getting these crappy tolerances and they start stacking, and then you get a product that, you know, is unstable, unreliable, or just DOA. You know, it's kind of sad. I feel like most people would be really willing to spend an extra, you know, $10 a board to get something that uses better quality components. That's also why I don't sell these. That's something to tell you. Even though Creality's swapping the CPUs out on their boards to the 256K part numbers, Creality does a really good job at making a low-cost board. And aside from the rash of the old 8-bit boards where they had the 5-volt rail issues, they've been pretty decent. And I think the only other thing I can complain about Creality boards is a 5-volt rail not being properly isolated from the USB's 5-volt rail. So, but in general, that's why I don't carry Big Tree Tech. If they made products that were reliable, I would carry them. The problem is if I sell Big Tree Tech products, I'm not a company in China that'll blow you off and drag you out. We stand behind what we sell, and I'm not going to risk having to do warranty replacements all the time on these boards. It's not worth it. So, and that's ignoring the fact that I just sell stuff that I will actually use myself. Anyways, went off a little tangent there. But let's see. So Raymond is asking, did my first print in TPU this week and peeled part of my bed coating up? Yeah. Any tips for not using TPU and not damaging the bed? So TPU, depending on the brand, I've had hit and miss stuff where it'll bond to PEI, it'll bond to BuildTech, it won't. On certain cases, my recommendation is treat it like PETG, and PETG in general likes to bond to a multitude of surfaces, whether it's BuildTech type, or like our EasyMat, or, PEI flex plates like our EasyFlex, or even bare glass. TPU, I don't believe bonds to bare glass, but PETG actually will bond to glass and take chunks out of it. I've had that happen when I used to print on glass many years ago. And what I mean by that is, one, watch your first layer height very carefully. Run it a little further away than normal. Err on that side versus too close. And put something down as a barrier between your build surface and the filament. Whether that's, like if you want a cheap solution, you can use like PVA glue stick or hairspray. Just make sure if you use hairspray, you spray your build surface off of the printer because you don't want that getting all over the mechanicals. Or what I use, and I always have a bottle floating around here, I love this stuff. We sell this. I swear by it. This is a product that we use for years here in our print farm before we started carrying it, just like the coax filament that we carry too. This stuff is great. This provides a release agent and a barrier between your build surface and the part you're printing, and this also sticks stuff down really well. I use the nanopolymer on all of our ABS machines. It's just kind of like an insurance policy, so even if the filament is going to stick to it, this makes sure it does not come off during printing. So I'm a big fan of it. I think we're low on stock on the Vision Miner. I'm in the process of doing inventory ordering, and it is on my list. So, but you can also get it directly from them. They're really good guys. It's made in the U.S., and this $50 bottle will last you a long time. So, anyways, let's move on to the next one. David T asks, the best 300 by 300 printer. In my opinion might be a little outdated. I still like the CR10, like the original CR10, and the CR10S specifically. That's the dual Z. The CR10 V2 and V3 were decent, but my beef with them is that they didn't use their standard Creality control board, so you're basically stuck with that board that comes with it unless you want to do a major project to switch out the board. Like you can't drop like an Easy board or the Big Tree Tech boards or even Creality's own other boards to upgrade it to a 32-bit. It's going to be very involved. In terms of like roughly that size, the Soval SVO3, I actually was really impressed with that. I'd probably more lean towards the SVO3 now that I think about it. I always forget about Soval stuff. I really like the SVO3. One of my buddies has my SVO3. I sold it to him because I had no use for it. I have so many machines. And it's been a very good machine. They have dual Z on there, dual Z motors, and you can put a standard, Easy board in there, or you can put like the Big Tree Tech boards in there. The stuff that uses the standard, Creality bolting pattern and layout. You can do that in the SVO3. So, any update on the under 6 top? Nope, sadly. I am going to have to do that. I am just still trying to get out of my backlog. I'm only one person here that does this kind of stuff. So, I need to clone myself. Anybody know how to do that? Also, I will not read your guys' questions. I'm only looking at my file. So we have a bot here now that aggregates all of our questions. So if you want me to see your question that you're typing, you have to put an exclamation point Q in front of it for it to show up here on my end. So, and you'll get a reply from the bot confirming that we got your question. So, all right, let's see. Battlebong says, just had a BTT board give it the smoke after 6 months. I'm not surprised. This is not me just talking shit. I'm just not surprised. Looks like I have an easy board soon. Will my BL Touch from the old board work, or do I need to get an easy ABL? So we do have support in our firmware for the BL Touch sensors, because we do recognize that not everybody wants to do, you know, the easy ABL, and that's fine. It does have, I have the board right here. We do have a servo header. Excuse the dust. Hang on. Let's get the dust off. Gotta have it look pretty. How many of you guys just keep an old, like a paintbrush, like this is a clean one, it's never been used for paint, for dusting things off? It's like, it's a game changer. Could statically damage it, but I've never had an issue. So your mileage may vary. So on the EasyBoard V2, we do have, see the servo header there. That's for your BL Touch connection. And then the other 2 pins will go to the Z-stop, and there's documentation. The difference between our boards, yes, they are expensive. These are $129. If prices ever stabilize on parts, they should be around $100. That was the original plan, but yay, silicon shortage and, you know, human malware. But the difference we provide, even on the Creality boards too, is we actually support the products we sell. So if you have a question, or you need help with the firmware setup, or you want to just verify wiring to make sure you don't fry anything, we have actual people, they're all based here in the US, that you can send an email to, or jump on live chat with and get help. Unlike these other companies where good luck trying to get any technical support, you know, you're gonna be hunting around on forums and Facebook groups trying to get help with their product. You know, and we have people that understand these devices. All of our technical support guys, they all have 3D printers, they all play with them. It's something they really enjoy, just like myself. So you get people that actually know what they're talking about to give you a hand with it. The main thing with the EasyBoard is that we do have our Easy Firmware site. So if you're tired of dealing with VS Code, trying to compile your firmware, I use it, but I'm also a professional. But we also have a website that compiles the firmware for our EasyBoard 1 and 2, available at no additional cost. You just go to the website, you can either upload a config file, you can walk through a wizard, or edit the config file right on the website, and then it will compile the firmware for you. You don't have to do any compiling on your actual computer. It's actually running on a very beefy server here. It compiles in less than 20 seconds. So it spits out the firmware.bin file, and I love demoing this, so I'm just going to pull this up here and show you guys, because I'm very proud of this. There's been a couple of places that have tried to kind of imitate or duplicate what we do, but you know, they either charge for it. This is provided at no cost to our Easy Firmware customers. So if you go to easyfirmware.th3dstudio.com, you can actually see, and as an example, people that have already done compiles here. And you can see there's the log files, the configuration H that was used to generate it. Here's a firmware bin file that you put on the SD card, and then you got your configuration H to download both here. So we've got what we call our easy config, so you can literally just select what printer you have. We do have some options here, like if you're using like the Ender Extender stuff or the Ender 3s. But yeah, all the different boards or printers we support are in here. And then different options pop up based on what printer you select. So just for example, I'm gonna compile for my CR10S. I've got an easy ABL. I'm using the OEM mount. I want to do super fast probing, and I'm gonna go ahead and just leave all these other ones default. I'll have my stock filament sensor on there. We're just leave this all stock. Hit next. And do I want direct drive E? No, damn it, Tor. He's popping the live chat up. Oh, you creeper. But anyways, so yeah, you've got different options here. Dual Z motors, this is already enabled, but I can check it. It's not going to hurt anything. And there's just a bunch of different other options too, but you can go through here. Yeah, let's say I have a NeoPixel here, and I'm going to do it for the EasyBoard V2, so I'm going to put my NeoPixel pin in, and they're listed right here, so there's no guesswork. Hit next, and then I'm going to do this here, just stream demo Tim, and you guys will be able to, as soon as I hit here, so I'm going to select my board, And I'm going to go ahead and tell it I'm not a robot and hit submit. So now this has put the compile into the queue. So if I go to download here, and you guys can see this right now. So if you go to the firmware site, you'll see this, and you can see it's already entered into the compiling state. And the way you can find your compile, if you like do it and walk away and do something, you can type in the tag, and it will show you your board or anything that, you know, matches that. So I'm assuming there's something with Ender. You can see all the ones that are tagged with Ender. And then let's see here. Oh no, Chrome is having a shit fit. There we go. So already compiled. I literally can download this file and then put the firmware.bin on my SD card and flash it. So you don't have to touch VS Code at all. You know, you can do this on your cell phone if you want to. If you had a SD reader hooked up to your cell phone, you could literally flash this, flash our boards with your cell phone and a card reader, you know, or tablet or whatever. You don't have to have a fast computer. So, I mean, that when I'm setting up a printer with the Easy board in it, I literally use our firmware site because it's faster. The giveaway form is closed. No, it should be open. I'm looking at it right now. Oh, hang on. Did the time not update? There we go. Let's try that again. All right, try it now. All right, so let's go back to the questions and see where we're at. You know, and that's just all the cool stuff with the Easy board. The bottom line is it's just a lot better quality board. When I was talking about, like, you know, Big Tree Tech with why I don't like them is because they're just not reliable. You know, it's not just marketing floof that, you know, we're talking about, oh, we use better quality parts. No, we actually do. We use stuff that has really good tolerances, so you're not getting stuff that's unstable and just doesn't last. Like, I'd rather buy once, cry once type of thing. That's how I do a lot of my stuff here, especially with tools and electronics. All right, moving on. Christopher Zapp, just bought your EasyBoard V2 for my Ender 5 Plus. I have a Big Tree Tech LCD installed currently. Will this work with the EasyBoard V2? So the answer is yes, there is a header, but there is a warning about those screens because they do, during testing on the V1, I have had one of those TFT 35s fry the CPU, so use it at your own risk. But there is, if you refer to Big Tree Tech's documentation, there is, if you look at our EasyBoard 2, there is a serial header here. You would just connect it up to that serial header. Just make sure to connect the correct pins, and that port is already turned on in the firmware. So I'm not a big fan of those just because, like I said, cool idea, you know, not reliable execution because of cost cutting. So, all right. So do you still need to season a titanium heat break? I brought your heat break, put my tough PLN, and it's going on. It is only printing PLA. So it's not going to hurt to season a titanium heat break. The titanium, the titanium heat break is a lot smoother than a standard steel one, but the answer is it wouldn't hurt to season it. I've seasoned both our steel ones and titanium ones. I've got a couple printers here with those heat breaks in there. It wouldn't hurt to do it. So in general, if you guys don't know this, if you have an all metal hot end, you're more likely to jam with PLA because it likes to stick to the metal surfaces, whether that's our brand of parts, or Micro Swiss, Crealities, E3Ds. Just in general, like seasoning your heat break is just adding like a oiler to the filament. It's like a little thing that clips on with a sponge. I use canola oil, and over time, think of like a cast iron pan. It seasons the heat break so the plastic doesn't stick to it, and also lubricates it. So to give you an idea, I seasoned my CR10 heat break the first month I put it in, and I haven't had to do anything to it, and I haven't had any PLA jams with it in years. So film on fire, is leakage current concern when using an SSR for a heated bed? It is not, in my opinion, just because you're going to have the actual heater on there. So that is going to put a bit of a load and drop that down to basically nothing. I've never had issues with it. I've touched the wires even with the SSR off just to see, and well, not touch them, but like touch them with my multimeter. And you're talking a very, very tiny amount of leakage. Most SSRs will have some leakage current to them. It's normal. But when you put like a load on there, it basically drops down to fuck all. So, M. Poffenbarger, any tips for printing a larger helmet? I've read a lot online. Wondering if you have personal experience that'd be helpful. Someone wants a helmet. So, I know Tor's in chat, Blazeby 3D and RC, that's our support guy, Tor. I think, Tor, I'm going to let you answer that question in chat because I know you've printed a helmet. I remember him sending a picture. You have to like size them for the head. I've not done them. Basically, I believe you have to size it, which is scaling the model up or down based on measurements you take. And then, you know, just treating it like a normal print in that, you know, putting supports where you need supports, etc. All right. I got one from Hugo, and he says, is it safe to print ABS in the same room you have to work in a non-enclosed printer? So one, good luck printing ABS without an enclosure. ABS is one of those materials that needs an enclosure. I don't care what some people tell you. You might be able to get away with no enclosure if you have a part that's really, really short. But the thing is, the enclosure is needed to keep a higher ambient temperature because ABS likes to shrink. So, you know, we have HEPA filters in our print farm that are overkill. The print farm is about 600 square feet. We got two HEPA filters that go down to the 0.1 micron. They claim they have. I haven't tested it. I'm trusting their marketing materials, you know, just as a precaution. But like, I have one in my office too, but my ABS printers are all the way back here. If you are sensitive to, you know, really small particles, it might be an issue. It might irritate your respiratory system, but I haven't had any issues. But you're definitely going to want to do some sort of enclosure, even if it's, you know, if you're temporarily printing parts. I've, you know, fashioned together cardboard boxes, not printed unattended, but I've made some cardboard box enclosures in my day. So let's see. Justin Dybell, next question is, when is the 370 by 376 spring steel PEI sheets back in stock? So I submitted that order about 4 or 5 days ago. We just actually did inventory last week. So I would assume in about 3 to 4, well, no, hang on, there's holidays. I think, because I have those manufactured over in Shenzhen. I'm probably saying that wrong. And they just went into Chinese New Year. So the whole country is basically shut down. I would say at least 4 weeks, if not more, because there's also shipping delays. So it's always fun. But anytime we have a product, if it's out of stock, all you have to do is sign into your TH3D account, hit add to wish list, and then you'll get an email as soon as we stock inventory on there too. The other thing with the flex plates, I don't have them up on my screen, but we also have what's called our B stock, which is stuff that, you know, might have a little bit of scuffs or anything, but it's just cosmetic defects. But otherwise they work. You can check and see if we have any B stock options there. So Nexon's asking, how did I enclose my Ender 5 Plus? Did I make an enclosure for it? I opted. It was it was expensive, but I think it was worth it. There's a company. Why am I blanking? It's 3D something. Of course, it's 3D something. And I'm not affiliated with them, but I will give them a little shout out. I paid $350. It looks like the price went up $389. I'm not surprised. But yeah, it's 3D upfitters. So I've been very happy with it. It works. You know, I could probably DIY it for cheaper, but my time is money. So I'll pay them for a kit. It took me about, I don't know, 45 minutes to put it together. It's got printed corner brackets and stuff and a bunch of acrylic panels. It's a lot of acrylic, and acrylic isn't cheap. So let's see here. WSCH something, I can't pronounce it. It says, in regard to ABL with either Easy ABL or BL Touch on the Ender 6 running stock Creality BL Touch firmware, how would I save my Z offsets to restore settings? So I'm not sure because I don't run the stock firmware, and Creality does not typically know how to set up their firmware correctly. I have our Easy ABL on my Ender 6, but I'm also running our firmware and our LCD kit. Those LCDs are also out of stock. I'm waiting on more stock for those to come in. I don't have an ETA on those because Creality is having supply issues on them apparently. But your Z offset should be able to be set with M420Z and then the offset, and then you can save it with M500. But the thing is, I believe there are EEPROM issues on the stock firmware. Someone can confirm, but I haven't run the stock firmware until after I did the the stream. Basically, I did the stream, and then I put our LCD kit on there, and I've been running ours. So, I believe their EEPROM support is not fully functional. It might still be saving to the SD, but Creality stock firmware and that stock screen are really rough with a ABL probe. Let's see. Superconductor's asking about the if we're thinking about doing a board around the Pi 2040 chip. I haven't looked into it, but I have seen that BTT made one. Haven't played with it, but it's neat. I know Scott from Marlin was talking about getting that chip supported in Marlin. It might already be at this point. So, but the LCD kit, we are out of stock on the LCD. So, you know, if you could source an LCD, we do have the STL files available for, I think it's like $4 or $5 for the housing. And then basically you can follow our same install guide. You just have to source your own screws. But we have, like, when we have the screens in stock, we have a full kit that's literally, here's all the screws, here's all the bolts, here's all the cables, the housing and everything. But right now we're out of stock on the LCDs. Yay, supply chain issues. Bill Stark, when I use Octoprint on a Pi 3B, it doesn't give me print quality as nice as a print off the SD cards. Any ideas to troubleshoot? I'm going to direct you to look at the, there's a serial issue with firmware. And this is assuming your Pi 3B is not throttling. The 3B works with Octoprint. I think I have a couple still running here, but they're slow. But let me see. I can't type and talk at the same time. But this might be what's affecting your issues here. Or your prints. So check that out, Bill. I don't know if it's going to tag your name. And I think I also have a Help Center article. I thought I did. Zits or blobs on my print. Octoprint related, yes. So check this one out too. And this is assuming you don't have issues with your Pi itself. So if your Pi is throttling, one of the other things is if you're running a ton of plugins, that can also slow it down. Just something to look out for. But hopefully that'll give you a start. Where is the text for the new question format? It's literally right on the screen, right here, right there, right there. So, okay, this is working really nice. There's no more, I don't know what my question is, or where's the question? Where am I at? This is fantastic. All right, R. Mills, is grounding the frame a good idea? Not just in regards to Creality printers. My Voron, I did not ground the frame. In general, my opinion is that, yes, it is a good idea to ground your to ground your printer frame. Definitely something that that would not hurt. So yeah. Let's see. Sean Collins, would you do a video on your home automation setup? I would need to do like 50 plus videos on the home automation setup. I think Spencer's in here. I thought I saw him lurking. He actually stopped by because he's actually in Illinois. Condolences, man. Hopefully one day you can escape. But yeah, it would be a lot. I do have a personal channel. If you guys go to my, I don't know if you guys know, it's really basic. It's just like one of those link tree type things. But if you go to timothyhoagland.com, there's actually a link to my personal YouTube channel along with the Maker Forum, which is a little side project I do personally. It's just a forum for fun stuff. Links to my GitHub, LinkedIn, and, you know, other stuff. So, but I do have some videos of the home automation stuff on there. I'm trying to keep this more 3D printing oriented. If I do a home automation project that's heavily using 3D printing, then I will do a video on here. But yeah, it's just like, there's a lot. I have a lot. It's one of those things where I've done it little by little. I've been in this new house for about since 2018, December 2018. And I don't really realize or appreciate how much stuff I have because Spencer was over here going, he's like, this is amazing, man. You should really do some videos on it. I was like, I guess. I mean, it's cool. Let's see. Vincent says he's got an Anycubic Chiron with unified firmware. It stops printing while connecting my PC via USB. When I have other printers connected through Ethernet and Wi-Fi, how do I stop this? I'm just using Cura. That sounds like a power management issue. I don't recommend you print with your PC over USB. Either do SD card or something like Octoprint. But it could just be like, usually your computer by default is going to go into sleep mode. If it's going to sleep, if it's printing and it goes into sleep mode, it's going to abort the print. Could also be an issue with the drivers, but my personal thing is don't use, like, if someone says, oh, I'm using your firmware and I have issues with you know, printing over USB for long periods of time, our recommendation is going to be go to SD printing, or you know, get an Octoprint setup, because Octoprint is a dedicated printing setup to do printing over the network, and that does connect over USB, but that little device is, that little Pi board is not going to go to sleep. Like desktops do. So you can try adjusting your sleep settings. A lot of motherboards, if they're idle, it'll start shutting down USB ports to save power. You know, you could try just simply changing your power profile. I'm a Windows user. I believe Macs have the same kind of thing too. But change your power profile from like a balance or power saver to, you know, high performance. That usually will turn most power saving features off. But that's why I'm not a big fan of printing over USB from the computer. The only time I will print over USB is if I have a printer sitting right here and I'm actively working and testing something with it. Other than that, I print over SD for like testing purposes, but all my other machines, my day-to-day stuff is having Raspberry Pis on every single printer and they're connected to the network. I'm a big fan of Octoprint. Gina does awesome work. Let's see. Fred's Trains. A friend asked me if you can swap an M8 nozzle for an M6. He ordered the wrong one. No, you can't. Those are different threads. M8, those are the threads. M6 threads versus M8 threads. Have them send it back and buy a new one. Tommy O, when will you have the Easy Pi? I'm not entirely sure. That did just jog my memory though, because I was able to locate some Pi boards. We do have two versions of the Easy Pi. The Easy Pi on our website. There's a 2 gig of RAM model and a 4 gig of RAM. We usually stuck with the 4 gig of RAM ones because those were the ones that were easy to get. 2 gigs of RAM Pis are perfectly fine and still overkill for, what's the word I'm looking for Octoprint. So I do have a set of Pis coming in. I think I ordered 50 of them. And those will be going into our kits. I'm pulling up my email right now because I'm trying to see. I'm checking here my inventory. A shipment from order. DHL tracking. Yes, so I've got 50 Pi 4 2 gig kits coming in. I unfortunately had to buy full kits, so I have extra cases and power supplies. If you guys want some cheap Raspberry Pi accessories like heatsinks and Pi 4 cases, because I've been having to buy boards with kits because I can't get just the boards, I gotta buy stuff with other things. There's cases and heatsinks for Pis and stuff in our shop for literally like $1 or $2 because I can't, instead of throwing them away, we're just listing them for cheap. But anyways, it looks like they're saying, DHL's saying that it looks like we should have those boards by February 1st, which is, what's that, only a couple days, next week, like Tuesday, so we should have them stocked by the 2nd or the 3rd, I would assume. So, but yeah, there's 2 listings for the Easy Pi, just because of the 2 different RAM versions. So the one you guys are seeing, that's the normal one, it's labeled 4 gigabytes of RAM. There is also a 2 gigabyte of RAM version, and that's what will be getting stocked. So I'm going to post that in the chat, just so you have that here. So there we go. I should really cross-link from the 2 to the 4 and the 4 to the 2 to be like, hey, if you know, because here's the thing. I'll be honest with you guys. For Octoprint use, the 2 gig of RAM Pis are perfectly fine. The only reason we went to the 4s was because that's what I could get in bulk, and now I'm trying to find whatever I can for the 2 gigs and the 4 gigs. So, all right. I love this bot. This bot is freaking awesome. Any timeline on availability for MKS boards? I have no idea. Again, silicon shortage. I have not been able to get any more MKS boards, so those are just discontinued for right now, solely on lack of availability. Someone asked about the giveaway form. We already fixed that. I'm looking here. Jim from upstate New York says, I put together a Franken printer, Ender 2 clone, tried to use the firmware from a Creality 2 Pro for my 427 board. Cannot get the control knob to work. Are they not using the same 12864 screen? I don't... I think they are, but I haven't taken my 2 Pro that far apart. It's in pieces right now. That's why it's not running. Again, too many projects, too little time. So yeah, I would assume it would use the same screen. It looks like it's the same screen, but I can't verify that. I'd have to go and look at mine. Mark Line, unfortunately, I just installed a Big Tree Tech SKR E3 Mini V2. My Ender 3 V2 with the 12864 LCD. The firmware isn't that great. I prefer my Easy board. Does unified firmware work with the SKR? So we do have unified firmware for the E3 Mini V2, V1 and V1.2. Is it 1.2 or 1.3? There's 3 different boards that are not including the V3 that just recently came out. So yeah, we do have it. Just check our help center. You can also go to uf2.th3dstudio.com. That'll take you to a listing. But we do have for the SKR E3 Mini V2, we do have firmware on there. So, but that's use at your own risk. If you email tech support and be like, hey, I need help with my Big Tree Tech board, they're going to tell you, well, you should contact Big Tree Tech or go to our Discord. Our Discord's actually really good for getting help with stuff like that because we all know Big Tree Tech doesn't like helping their customers. Let's see. Battlebong, are you the guy that wait, are you the guy that someone sent me a screenshot of your post in the Ender 3 or one of the Creality groups? I don't know if you deleted it. Well, the guy who posted it. Now I want to find it. Yeah, there was a board. There was a guy that had a Big Tree Tech board, and he posted a picture, and he said it looks like the fire started in the electronics area. I'm trying to find it. It was posted in my group chat last week, I want to say. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, I have it here. All right, let me see. I'll just I'm not sure if this is the same guy, but that would be pretty interesting if it was yet another person. I will say I haven't seen too many fire issues with Big Tree Tech stuff. Usually most of the fire problems with any boards is because people didn't clip their tinned wires. So that's kind of on you guys. But I'll just show you here. Let's see. Oh, that's another one. Okay, well, this is another guy here. Someone had sent me this in my group chat. I need to move my stuff out of the way here. So, but yeah, you can see here, this guy Brandon, and yeah, that could have been bad. His wife was not very happy about that. So, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that concerns me about, not knowing what kind of quality parts you're getting in the products, because it's like, oh yeah, it's cheap, but if it catches on fire, it's kind of a big deal. In my humble opinion, but anybody will say I am biased because I sell a competing product, so just make that clear, but don't take it from me. Ask people in chat. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have our boards and other stuff. We do good work. Tommy O, with Easy Board working a CR10 SV2, it will not. And I talked about this earlier because Creality decided to use yet another board version that's different from their standard ones. The CR10 V2 is a decent printer. So is the V3 because they're basically the same, but it sucks because they used a custom board for just those 2 models, and it sucks. I could swap it out, but it'd still be a couple hours of project for me. It's a pain in the ass. M. Poffenbarger, are the pancake steppers coming in soon? Yes, they're literally processing them right now. Talented Fiend, thoughts on the King Room KP3S? I think it's okay. Personally, I actually like the KP3 a little better. They're both decent. They're both decent printers for the price. To be completely honest, you get what you pay for. They're not terrible, but they're not great. I like my little KP3. My KP3S is sitting on a shelf collecting dust, not because there was an issue. I just haven't had a chance to finish the upgrades. I was putting a new fan on it, a 5015 fan and stuff. So let's see, Mike V. Wow, we got so I think I'm not gonna be able to get through all the questions, so I'm gonna kind of pick and choose some quick ones or ones I think are interesting, and I'll let it go over a little bit. I don't have any calls or anything scheduled this evening, so let's let the stream run a little longer. I also just realized I might have forgot to post last week's stream to our podcast. Did you guys know that these streams, you can also find them on podcast platforms? And I definitely forgot. Oh, I forgot to post. Yeah, last week's I forgot to post. So I'll have to download that and post it. But if you guys want to listen to these streams, either older ones or, just catch them after within an hour of uploading, if I remember, I need to set a reminder. I strip the video out and then upload just the audio. So yeah, we're on all the major podcast platforms: Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora. I'm looking here. Let's see, podcast apps. What are we on? Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Player FM, all that stuff. So yeah, check those out. And I got to remember to, hey Google, remind me to post January 19th podcast at 5:30 p.m.
Got it. I'll remind you.
And I just probably triggered your guys' Google Homes for you guys to have them. Anyways, let's see. Mike V, what's the maximum print size on a CR10S? 310 by 310. Need to print a 300 by 300. Print Cura not allowing to slice. I have the Cura bed set at 310 by 310. 300 by 300 is basically gonna be your limit. For the printer, you're going to start hitting the frame, unfortunately. One thing I'll do too, and you can usually get away with this, if you rotate your part at a 45-degree angle, depending on what it is, if it's like a longer, skinnier part, you can usually get away with that. But if it's like one that's like square and flat and takes up most of the bed, I don't know why Cure wouldn't be letting you slice. Unless it's because it's trying to add like a skirt or something around the part that's offset, like a priming thing, which I run on mine. That may be it, so check your settings. Let's see here. Jay Moore, is the flange removable on a timing belt pulley gear? I've had ones that they are, and I've had ones that they aren't. It really depends on who made them. I've had both. I've had ones where you can take a pliers and pop them off, and I have others that they're all one piece. Let's see here. Al is saying, I'm getting error on my printer filament run out. Is this showing my filament sensor is better? Filament run out. Is this showing my filament sensor is bad? There's filament loaded. I have a lot mask SC10. Yeah, typically if you're getting a filament out in general, when you don't actually have a filament out, then yeah, it could either be a wiring issue or it could just be the sensors going bad. Usually they're micro switches like ours. I prefer the basic micro switch ones. They last a while, but they do eventually wear out. So let's see here. I'm just looking for what questions we have here. So, I wish it showed me who was like a channel member on the chat here, because I just realized I'm looking at the console of the chat coming in, and it does not show me who's a YouTube member. I'll have to look into that. All right, let's see if there's any quick question. Someone's asking about 300 millimeter build volume Creality. I would say check out the Solval SVO3. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. That's a 300 by 300 by 3 something. Solval uses a lot of Creality stuff. I really like them. Let's see here. So don't ask any more questions. I'm coming up on the end here. We're gonna go here. Do I have any of my Octopis connected to the printer via GPIO pins instead of USB? No, I'm solely using everything over USB. John is asking, what kind of power wire connectors would you use mid-wire? So you could put a PSU on the outside and enclosure, hardwire in the PSU and printer. Okay. I would use some high quality XT60s if your printer's load is within the range of an XT60. If you get good quality XT60s and solder them up correctly, they're actually a very good connector. Dean Hinton said, I get satisfactory resolution on your previous Pi order from China, where they sent me the box of resealed defective ones. They're supposedly giving my money back, so I'm just waiting here. They're on holiday now, so. R Mills, looking at setting up Home Assistant at home, would you suggest to run it off of a Pi 4 8 gig or a NAS? If possible, be interested in running Plex off the same device. So if you're interested in running off, so here's my thing. Yes, you can run Plex on a Home Assistant box. I don't recommend it just because of storage and resources. A Pi 4 is good for getting started into Home Assistant, and the good thing is you can literally export your system backup from Home Assistant and import it into a new Home Assistant installation. So let's say you start on a Pi, and then you go to like an Intel NUC. Like in my shop, I have an Intel NUC because they have an official NUC image, so it's all managed and everything. You can migrate over. But in general, if you think you're going to get really into it, I'd recommend getting like they have those Odroid boxes. I can't remember. I think it's the N2. I know Doug, my brother Doug, is using that for his Home Assistant box, and he's been very happy with it. I run mine in a virtual machine for my house setup, and I have a separate setup in my shop, and that's running on an i5 Intel NUC. So my thing is, if you have the money, I would run it on a beefier system, because that way you just have all the horsepower run. Like the Pi 4 is great for getting started, but if you really start getting into automations and a ton of other stuff and other Docker containers, because that's basically what it's using is Docker on the back end. When you start adding add-ons, you're going to run out of steam pretty quick and see how slow the Pi is compared to an actual computer. Is there BW Electronics, is the Raspberry Pi 3B the lowest you recommend for Octopi? Yes, that's the lowest. Or the new, the Pi 02W, which is basically a 3B. Pis in general are hard to find, but yeah, the 3B is the slowest I would go, and I wouldn't put a ton of plugins on it. Octoprint needs more CPU horsepower than RAM. That's why running a 2 gig Pi versus a 4 gig Pi versus 8 gig Pi isn't going to make a difference. The 1 gig Pis also do a fine job in terms of the Pi 4s. You really want more, where you're going to see the snappiness be better in terms of Octoprint and have less issues, is the faster processor in terms of Pi boards. Airbrush Noob, is there a real fight danger with the Ender 3s, and what mods would you say would help make them safer? So the stock Ender 3s have a really crappy power supply. They're just like kind of Meanwhile knockoffs. I have had issues with them where they're I think it's the NTC parts. They tend to go up. A Meanwhile power supply is something that I highly recommend if you don't have an Ender 3 Pro. If you have an Ender 3 Pro, then you already have a Meanwhile power supply. The other thing, if you have an older Ender 3, they had a batch of XT60 connectors that were catching on fire and burning up. So if you have one of the older ones in general, it wouldn't hurt to check and see if there's any burn marks. But update the firmware. Some of the older Ender 3s did not come with thermal protection. So if you haven't updated your Ender 3 firmware already, and especially if you're running the 8-bit board, it's highly recommended to update the firmware. And we have free firmware on our website for the 8-bit and the 32-bit boards. I believe the 32-bit boards have their thermal protection enabled. Creality has been doing better at properly enabling that, because that's a critical safety feature. But yeah, basically power supply, XT60 connectors, and firmware. Those are 3 things to check. Aside from that, there's really not much more I would recommend in safety. Just, the wires going into the board. We talked about this. So these terminals where your wires go in, unscrew them, cut the ends off, strip them, and put them, twist the wires and put them back in, because they tin the wires. And what happens is the wires as they pass current, they're heating and cooling, expanding and contracting, and it starts cracking, and it starts creating arcing and hot spots in the connector until it melts and potentially catches on fire. Almost forgot that. It's a very big thing. So if you guys notice, when I tear down machines, I always go and check if the wires are tinned. If they are tinned, I cut the tinned ends off, I strip them. I've been using crimp ferrules a lot more. If you guys have crimp ferrules, the order of preference of best termination method for wires into terminals is ferrules, bare wires, And that's it. Don't use tinned wires. Tinned wires cause fire. Jim Upstate New York, or Tom's asking what chatbot we're using. I'm using the Streamlabs Chatbot. Jim Upstate New York, any suggestion on how to wire in a heated bed to a printer not equipped with one? I see dogs in my peripheral, but I can't pet them. Basically, if you have one that's not equipped with one, if it has a MOSFET output already for the heated bed, it should just be as simple as picking up a heater that's going to work with that. If it's an AC bed, you can run in a solid state relay to control it. If it's a DC bed that's not pulling too much current, you could probably use the onboard MOSFET. If it's over 10 amps of current, I'd probably recommend using an external MOSFET, just take the load off the board. If it doesn't have a heated bed output, as in there's no MOSFET, what you can do is if there's a spare I/O pin, you can pick up like our V2 MOSFETs we sell in our shop, actually have not only a high level 12 or 24 volt input, but they also have a signal level input that can be driven directly from an I/O pin. So there's a couple different ways to do it. So John Grubby's asking about the KP3S and the MOSFET to power the bed. He said, in the video I ran a second line from the power supply to the MOSFET. I saw someone else connect the printer power plug off the MOSFET. Is that not a good idea? As long as the wires aren't tinned going into those terminals, it's fine. There's not a problem with running it into the main power input side. I don't know where Enzo's going. Enzo, get back here. Come here. He doesn't have to go potty, so... but yeah, it's not a bad idea. I've done that before where I'll run a thick gauge cable to the MOSFET and then run a smaller one into that same terminal to power the board. What components are likeliest to fail after wires / terminals if you have tinned wires? Chris Polk asks. So anything around there that could be affected by heat, because it's going to heat up. So let's see. Did you post it? He posted a picture of his burnt BTT board. Oh no. Oh no. Let's see. Let's see how bad it is. I feel like I'm going to be underwhelmed. I don't know where you posted it. Is it in Lounge? Did you at me? I don't know where it is. 3DP chat. Oh, here we go. SKR2 that let out the smoke. Oh, that's not even worth showing. I can't even see. I need to see fire. I need to see burn marks, craters. I can't even see where it failed. I can't see it. All right, we're gonna wrap this up in a sec here. I'm seeing if there's any other interesting questions that I want to answer. Tommy, when will the EasyCam HD be in stock? Probably about a month. I'm waiting on those to get made. So because I'm extra and I like having the wide angle lenses, they're taking a little bit longer than normal. Let's see here. Any other quick questions before I do the Ceremonio Dingo sticks? I'm looking here. Lyle's asking about the dual LCD boards. They're in manufacturing again, probably about a month. Those are usually pretty quick. It could be less, but I'd rather tell you a month and it'd be 2 weeks versus 2 weeks and it's a month. But still, like, supply chain is still just absolutely messed up. But anyways, we are over on time. I actually started on time for today. I've been using reminders. I've been doing better. Hell yeah. Anyways, I will plug our Discord. Make sure you guys check out our Discord server. That's usually where I hang out. If you guys are a YouTube member, make sure to link your Discord account with your YouTube account, because then you get access to the VIP section and the Cult of TH3D section. So I thought I put a command Discord. Yeah, it should do it. I guess the bot is just taking its sweet time reading the commands. So anyways, since the doggos have been pretty good, I guess it's time for a dingo stick. Do you guys want dingo sticks? Do you think Remo knows the word dingo stick? Dingo stick. What do you like more, dingo stick or outside ball? Do you like ball? Outside ball? Or dingo stick? Or ball? What do you like more, ball or dingo stick? Do you like going for walks outside and playing with the ball? Yeah? Oh, are you whining? Yeah? No one likes a whiny little bitch. Okay? All right. But anyways, it is time for the doggos to get their treats. And Endo's been so good. We've only had you... When did I get him? I got him on the 14th, so almost it'll be 2 weeks on Friday. Look how nice Enzo's sitting. Remo, you need to chill. Look how nice your brother's being. He's younger than you and he's new. Yeah, look how good he's being. Can we shake? No, that's not shake. Sit. Shake. No. One paw. You know shake. This is just a mess. I'm trying it. Come on. Sit. Paw. Sit. Speak. Good boy. Enzo, you don't know anything other than sit. But we're going to work on it. Can we sit? Enzo, sit. Get off me. Can we sit? Enzo. He's like, but I'm kind of sitting. Sit. There you go. Good boy. Remo, do not take his dingo stick. Anyways, yeah, Remo's 95 pounds. Enzo's about 60. So, anyways, I appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all your guys' questions. I'm happy. I'm happy that the chatbot is working pretty well. This is way easier than filtering through the chat. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. The giveaway form will be open until 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you catch this later and it's before 7 p.m., the giveaway form will still be open. I'm being a little generous there. So, anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for stopping by, and hope you guys like the new chatbot. It's helped me out a lot. And as always, happy printing.